Hello, my name is Dr. Fred. I'm Fred Moss, and welcome to my 2020 Conference for Global Transformation poster session done on video. Today I'm going to talk about a subject near and dear to me, involuntary hospitalization and mass incarceration. And we're going to look at rehabilitation or punishment. An overview of this discussion, it will include a discussion about asylums, the old state hospitals, deinstitutionalization from the 60s and 70s, the rise of mass incarceration as a result of that, and also our present status with respect to stay at home having to do with our COVID restrictions. It seems that in this country, we have always criminalized and institutionalized perceived abnormality, abnormal social behaviors by using asylums and prisons, or other ways, state hospitals, prisons, jails, etc. The two are clearly interrelated. Whether we're committing people to asylums or locking them up in prisons, it is clear that the two systems feed off each other in sort of a seesaw pattern. Now, with asylums essentially gone over the last, 20 or 30 years, we have created mini asylums that are presently very much existent in our jails and prisons, and therefore, not really much has changed in the last 70 years in this area, particularly for those living with a diagnosis of a severe mental illness. Let's take another look at this. The history of deinstitutionalization has to therefore be understood as being inextricably intertwined with the history of mass incarceration in the United States of America. In the 1960s and 1970s, deinstitutionalization of psychiatric hospitals led directly and immediately to mass incarceration at an unprecedented scale. In fact, the hundreds of thousands of people that were in asylums and state hospitals and locked facilities have now been shifted almost number for number over to jails and prisons, and the legal system is what we call it. This truth has gone largely unnoticed and unchallenged to our present day. The country's move from asylums to prisons is really one, therefore, of reinstitutionalization rather than deinstitutionalization. And in this process, the actual function has shifted towards even more punitive ends, given that the endpoint now is jails and prisons, clearly with more overt punitive ends than what was existent in the state hospitals and mental hospitals, though even that can certainly be arguable. Now I'm asking us to take a little bit of a moment of self-reflection. If you found yourself trapped or feeling stir-crazy because of our present confinement, our restrictive status based on the outbreak that we're all going through, I'm going to ask you to take a pause, inhale a few deep breaths, and then look around at all the things that you really have to be grateful for. Because probably you have some family that you're living with, and if not, you certainly have friends or loved ones that you're in contact with, and maybe even have a pet or two. I have 3 cats that I just adore. And if none of those, at least you know you've got Wi-Fi access because you have to just to be here this weekend. So in jail or prison, you wouldn't have any of that. No matter what you think, our present quarantine or lockdown is really not very similar to being incarcerated in prison or jail. So think twice when you start thinking like that, and as hard as it might be, remember to be grateful. Let's look at the definition of the word carceral, of, relating to, or suggesting a jail or prison. Our good friend Foucault in 1995 makes a point that once embedded in this system, it is, quote, slow, continuous, imperceptible gradation that makes it possible to pass naturally from disorder to offense and back from a transgression of the law to a slight departure from a rule, an average, a demand, a norm. Mr. Foucault adds that we are in the society of the teacher-judge, the doctor-judge, the educator-judge, the social worker-judge, and it is on them that the universal reign of the normative is actually based. And each individual, wherever he may find himself, subjects to it his body, his gestures, his behavior, his aptitudes, and his achievements. Now, as I see this, I think what he's saying is that the incarcerating society and the institutionalizing society are actually the ones who are defining through the prevailing conversation what normative is. Foucault adds that the carceral network in its compact or disseminated forms with its systems of insertion, distribution, surveillance, observation, has been the greatest support in modern society of the normalizing power. Beautifully, Foucault. And finally, according to Foucault, a vast carceral network that developed gradually from what he refers to as the classical age in the 1600s and 1700s, down through the end of the 19th century, linked through innumerable relations, the punitive and the abnormal, transforming the, quote, social enemy, end quote, into the deviant or the delinquent, and making the power to punish both natural and legitimate. I think this really is a clear reference to the relationship between the prison system and the mental health system over the years, really over the centuries. So along with race and poverty, which are clearly important issues, mental illness has become a salient feature of mass incarceration, one that has to be accounted for in any discussion we're going to have about criminal justice reform. And in fact, presently, the three largest inpatient psychiatric facilities in all of the country are in the jails in New York City at Rikers Island, Chicago at Cook County Jail, and Los Angeles in the Los Angeles County Jail. It is those places that have the three largest inpatient psychiatric facilities. That says something and opens up a chance for inquiry. So thank you for watching my poster. It's really been a pleasure. It's been an honor. It's been a very cool project to get involved with, and I hope you appreciate it and found it interesting and or compelling. So if you have any questions, comments, ideas, or any other shares, definitely contact me directly. I'm Dr. Fred Moss, MD, and I'm the founder and president of WelcomeToHumanity.net, Global Madness, Mastering Telehealth, and I'm also a very active expert witness. The best way to get a hold of me directly is my email at drfred@WelcomeToHumanity.net, or you can also find me on social media at Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. Again, Dr. Fred signing off for now. Welcome to Humanity. Bye.